My name is Wendy Yao. We are in Chinatown, Los Angeles. This is a store called Ooga Booga. It's a very small room upstairs from a bakery, specializing in independent publishing, artist books, artworks, music, clothing, and just other things made by artists mostly. When we walked around here trying to just like look at what spaces were available, I think they considered a few different neighborhoods, but this place seemed like, it had a really pleasant vibe, but also, it was not very well populated in a way at the time. It was already kind of, really slow and empty and quiet kind of place, even though back then, now that I compare, there were a lot more stores, like Chinese-run stores, then in Chungking Alley than there are now. But even back then, it just seemed like it was really, kind of dead there. And then that was what created the opportunity for the galleries, that made the rent really cheap. Well, me and my friends who all kind of have the joke where anytime we travel with our parents our whole lives, like you go to any city in the world and the first place your parents want to go is the Chinatown. And so it's like you visit all the Chinatowns of the world, but your parents always gravitate toward, like, you go to Paris and they're like, oh, where's the Chinatown in Paris? Or you go to, Vancouver, Canada, and they're like, oh, let's find the Chinatown. A lot of the Chinatowns are all different. If you compare New York's Chinatown to LA's Chinatown, it's super different. And, and the way that this Chinatown was built and the kind of like film set aspect of it changes it a lot, where, I don't know, it's not as like, it's like LA, it's a bit more decentralized, right? It's not very dense. It's quiet, and then it has like these times where it's super busy, whether it's like nowadays in the nightclub time, the nightclub hours on the weekends are super busy, or when there's a big film being shot, then it's super busy with that kind of activity, or, it's busy at different times for different reasons. I guess art gallery night, or just a weekend tourists, or when they're having like, Chinese New Year celebrations or parades. Just depends, But the LA Chinatown for sure, it can be really dead or really busy. You think about downtown LA, it's the same thing. The business district is super busy and then it's super dead. And then, I think that's LA. What area is really consistently dense all the time? I'm not sure. I think downtown people are rediscovering all these like old and beautiful theaters also, and preserving those and reopening them, and the Art Deco architecture there. And I think that that's part of the history of LA, and it's something, beautiful, and that people get drawn to it too, because there's so much newness here too, and so much like, just kind of like, cheap and quickly built stuff that I don't think it's strange or regressive to preserve it. It's something beautiful that was, that was built here from a different time that is still really, you can relate to it now. And it's also, of course, the kind of particularness of the architecture here. It both relates to Chinese heritage as much as it relates to this kind of like filmic or almost Disney idea of Chinese and Chinatown that is also really part of the identity of this area. It's like the film set, And so it relates on all these different levels in terms of architecture, in terms of culture, and then in terms of this like really modern, function as a kind of myth maker and, film set. Once you start to read and find out what's going on, like anywhere, like in downtown or here or Pasadena, there's always really important and interesting, relevant stories that, like, I think anyone who spends a lot of time here and has a relationship with LA or wants to understand it, it's super relevant, because I guess the cliche is that LA is all about the surface, but really, like, it has so many different layers, and it's like, it's like fascinating, and it's interesting, and it's like thought-provoking and everything. So I don't know. I think of it like that, I guess.